This is the Howard Vortex with Dr. Drew and Ami Horowitz. This is the Howard Vortex with Dr. Drew and Ami Horowitz. Baba Booey to you. Here comes Dr. Drew and Ami Horowitz. The Howard Vortex.
Hey everybody, it's what are we calling this? The Stern Vortex?
Howard Vortex.
Howard Vortex. Ami Horowitz here with me. I'm Dr. Drew, and today we're very excited to speak with High Pitch Erik. How'd you pull that one off?
That was a process. Getting High Pitch to come on with us was a real process. If I read you the tweet he sent to me when he said that he has a professional conflict, he could not come on because of a professional conflict. I found that fascinating.
And we finally did get him to commit. It's late at night on a New York evening. That is fascinating. And then his professional conflicts sort of seem to loosen up when you, Ami, committed to a case of Lucky Charms.
Yes, that was what got us over the finish line. It was a case of Lucky Charms. That got rid of that professional conflict real quick.
Although it left me with a professional conflict of a different quality, which is I feel like I'm handing an addict his drug of choice, which is his food. But let's welcome Erik.
Yes.
All right, let's get into this. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent. Do you know Ami Horowitz? He's with me here. Ami, say hi.
Hey, Erik. How are you, man?
Good. How are you, Ami?
I'm doing very well.
We're both big fans. And Erik, I don't know if you remember, you and I met each other in the hallway at the studio one day. Do you remember that?
I believe so. A long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah. You had your cane with you, and you were going in with, I guess, Shuli to record something, and we just kind of said hi. And you know, you were at that point you were talking a lot about your back pain.
Yes.
Is that still a big issue for you?
Yeah, I still get treatment on my back. Yes.
What is the back pain because of the weight and the sort of, you know, having to carry all that around, or is it something you've had even before the weight got out of control?
Even it happened before the weight control. I've had this herniated disc for a long time.
Right. Ami, do you want to ask any questions?
No, I'll just sit back and just relax the entire time.
Listen, come on now.
No, I mean, listen. First of all, I'm sure everybody who's listening to the show is a huge fan of yours. So we're really excited to get to really know who's High Pitch, right? I think that's kind of what's on everybody's mind. We hear you, the guy on the show. We want to get a sense of it, if that's really the reality of who you are off the show. So I guess the first question I would have for you, High Pitch, is, you know, I want to get a sense of what your day is like from morning till night. So what time do you wake up? What's the first thing you do? Tell us.
Well, I usually wake up between 10 and 11 because my favorite TV shows are on from Monday to Wednesday from 10 to 11.
What's that?
So you base your wake up time based on that TV show. Yeah. What show is that?
Like Let's Make a Deal with Wayne Brady, The Price is Right with Drew Carey.
The sexy guys, right?
Right. And then on Thursdays, I like to wake up around 11-ish because on Ion Television, they have like reruns of Blue Bloods with Donnie Wahlberg.
Oh, there we go. Your lover.
Yes.
The dreamy Donnie.
Right. And I'm also an actor on Blue Bloods as well.
I was aware of that. And then, Friday? It's the same kind of routine?
Well, Fridays, I get up early, because I like to do stuff. I don't like to waste the day away.
Right. What does that mean?
What is early for you?
Like around 9, 10 o'clock, I like to get up because I don't like to waste the day away.
And what do you do that day? The day you get up early?
Like I play video games and I just chill out.
So you don't want to waste a day. You want to just hang
at home. At home, or do you go out?
At home, I just chill out, play video games.
Hey, let me. I was, I know Joey Boots lived with you in your building as well. What part of town is it? I know. I don't necessarily want you to, divulge anything you don't want. But what is it? Upper West Side? I sort of imagined it up there. Is that where you are?
No, I live in the Bronx.
So way up. Okay, I don't know why. I kept thinking.
Drew? Why would you imagine him in the Upper West Side?
I knew. Well, that's kind of why I kind of throw Bronx into that same category as up and west and way up. But I don't know why.
Said by somebody who's lived his whole life in Los Angeles.
Well, you know why? Because he gets a lot of social services, and the Upper West Side is mixed in with. It's a very diverse sort of population, the Upper West Side, and I've noticed there are a lot of people getting a lot of different kinds of services up there, mixed in with people that aren't. It's just very interesting. I just imagine him in an interesting place. That's all I'm saying.
Nope. Hey, hi, Pete. So I'm curious. So what is your routine about calling into the show? So if you're waking up every day around 10 o'clock, how often do you call in? How does that work into your schedule?
I set my alarm for about 6:55 in the morning, and I turn the show on around 7. And if there's a good topic, I'll call in. So I tend to leave the show on, but I fall asleep during the show sometimes.
I'm confused.
Well,
so
I got it. I got it. Do you have sleep apnea? Do you have to wear a CPAP?
I have a CPAP, but I hardly wear it because it's so uncomfortable.
I know. The CPAPs are really tough. Do you ever try a BiPAP?
What's a BiPAP?
It goes in your nose.
No, I never heard of that.
Okay, and so when you do go out, where do you go?
I hardly go out because, lately, I like to stay home, chill at home, and just watch TV, play my video game I always like to play.
It seemed like you and Joey Boots used to go out and do stuff, right?
Yeah, we always like to chill out in the backyard. He smoked his cigarettes, I smoked my cigars, and we used to have a couple of beers here and there.
Now, Joey had a pretty bad addiction problem, right?
No, he had a really bad addiction.
Did you know about that?
And
Did you know about it?
I didn't even know about it until the report came out on TMZ.
Did he ever steal your pain pills?
No. He never stole any pain pills from me.
Ami, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm curious to go back to your day. So you're up at around 10 or 11 o'clock. You're watching the sexy Wayne Brady and the sexier Drew Carey. So that takes you to about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Then I'm assuming you eat lunch.
Yeah, I eat lunch. I have maybe a burger delivered to me, and after I eat, I'll take a shower, maybe take a little bit of a nap after.
Hey, sorry. I'm sorry to disturb you. I want to devour every moment of this. Let's take one step back. I guess the one question that pops out at me is, that's pretty expensive to order in. Like I make a decent living, but lunch I usually eat in. How do you afford to be able to order a burger, which I'm assuming it's $7-10 a day, to order that food in every day?
Because I have fans that pay for greetings, like birthday greetings, and people pay me to do greetings for them.
Well, that's interesting.
And how much you earn doing that a month?
Videos are $50, and audio is $25.
But how much do you earn, let's say, a week doing that? On average, how much are you making a week?
I can make like $200 by doing it.
A week?
A week?
Yeah.
Does that? I don't want to screw with your social services, but don't they have an issue with that? Doesn't that sort of potentially get in the way of you getting some of the social services you had?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Hey, Aaron, I want to go back even further. Where'd you grow up? Do you mind?
I grew up in the Queens with my family.
And your parents were together?
Yes, they got separated in 1987.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
Sister, I don't talk to her.
What happened?
Oh, we fell apart after my mom passed away.
I see, which happens sometimes. And growing up, as so did you do okay in school growing up?
Well, when my parents got separated and divorced, I failed in school. I didn't do too well.
How old were you at that point?
I was still a teenager.
Teenager. And did you play sports?
I played softball, which I was good at.
And nothing. No,
I was
I mean,
the first.
you're a big.
I was a first baseman,
I imagine you were.
and I played football. So.
I was going to imagine you play football. You were a big guy. What? You play tackle football or touch football?
Touch football.
Okay. And as you were growing up, what did you imagine you were going to do with your life?
I wanted to be a radio broadcaster because when I was young, I always listened to Howard when he was on NBC. My parents hated him. My parents always told me, shut him off. And I said, no. And my parents said, he's so vulgar and disgusting. I said, I don't care. I love him.
So it's in a way, it's a dream come true. You got to do not only be on radio, but radio with Howard. Is that right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just curious. You wanted to be a radio broadcaster. I get it. That's exciting, particularly if you're a Howard Stern fan. But did you not think that your voice was going to get in the way of that dream?
When I was still a kid, my parents took me to go see a doctor. They wanted me to get surgery on my voice. I said no, because I did not want my voice to go deeper. I said I want to keep my voice the way it is. So I kept my voice the way it was.
Right, but my question is, do you think that your voice would not be an impediment, which means not be an obstacle for you to be a broadcaster? Did you think that your voice would work as a broadcaster? The high-pitched tone?
Well, I know people with people in my voice. I know people will never get jobs with my voice.
Now, what did they call the voice problem when you were growing up? When you were looking into it, did they give it a name? Do you remember?
No, not offhand.
Okay, it's called puberphonia or mutational falsetto. Any of those? Have you ever heard of those terms before?
Yes, I've heard of falsetto. Yes.
Yeah, mutational falsetto, right? And the kinds of things that, even though there are surgeries to correct it, what did they tell you was causing it?
Something about my vocal cords, like maybe too tight or something.
They didn't tell you it had a sort of an emotional source to it?
I'm not sure. I forgot. That was so long ago. Like I totally forgot.
And
you're
go ahead.
Sorry, you're able to at times lower it to in fact the opposite of a falsetto. You can bring all the way down to a tenor. Explain to us exactly how that works and how you're able to do that.
Because if I let's say how it is, because you talk in a deep voice, and I can, but it hurts when I do it.
I remember when he was with you were stuck in the farters, your face in the farters thing.
God, that was classic.
I heard a low voice then.
Yeah, and I mean it hurts when I do it. It always hurts when I do it.
So Dr. Drew, are you saying that this is normally it's not something that's physical, but rather an emotional?
Well, let me read.
It starts emotionally.
I will read in this one list of potential causes. It's A, emotional stress; 2, delayed development; 3, psychogenic; 4, some sort of hero worship; 5, excessive maternal protection. Did you have too much sort of going on with your mom?
Is there 6 all the above?
Well, then 6 is a structural thing, non-fusion of the thyroid lamina. And it could be all the above, and it could be lots of things. But I'm wondering if it has an emotional basis to it. Did you ever have any trauma or anything like that growing up, Erik?
Not that I know of. And I know I had my tonsils taken out, too.
And so you're going through high school, your parents break up, you want to be a radio broadcaster. Bring me forward further from there. So did you move in with your mom or your dad and get depressed? What happened?
Well, after they split up, my dad moved on with his life. So on weekends, me and my sister went to see my dad. And then, I said to myself, I love radio. I still want to be on radio. I love broadcasting. And, as time went on, I wanted to be in TV and radio. Because radio was my dream come true.
So what did you do to pursue that?
Well, I always wanted to meet people in the industry. So that's why I waited outside the radio station when Howard was on terrestrial radio.
Okay, but what did you do to actually try to affect your dream? What did you actually do to try to become a broadcaster outside of hanging out of a radio station?
Well, because I tried to go to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Oh, okay. And what happened there?
Well, as soon as I found out how much it was, I couldn't afford it.
Okay. Did you ask your parents for help? Were they able to help you? Were they comfortable in life? Were they poor? Were they middle class?
Middle class, but I mean, it was so expensive they couldn't afford it.
And were you bullied as a kid?
What was that?
Were you bullied as a kid?
No, never.
Really? That's interesting.
And any major illnesses when you were a kid?
I had a lot of ear infections and a lot of surgeries for my ear.
On your ears. And any major like head injuries or traumas or anything of that sort?
No.
Now, you used, when you were talking to Howard once about your IQ, you used a clinical term, and I in my heart I thought you're just saying that, and I'll tell you why in a while. But you called yourself, I think, an imbecile or some such thing, right? Do you remember that whole conversation?
Actually, Howard uses the word dumb, and I got tested in real life when I went to this program. You know, that I was like a training program, and I was tested in real life, and my IQ was a 64.
Is that for real? Or are you just saying that to be funny? And by funny, I mean to be, to try to get.
No, that's for real because I have it down on paper.
Because I'll tell you why I take issue with it.
What is a 64? You can tell the audience.
That's well below average. I mean, I think you called it dull or something. Was that what the technical category you fit into, Eric?
Well, 64 means, they based it on my reading comprehension, based on.
And you weren't. And let me ask you something. Come on, tell me honestly. You weren't throwing the test in some way. You weren't doing something to make it seem lower to get the services. Honestly.
No, I wasn't.
And this is sort of a compliment. I'm sort of giving you a compliment, which is I occasionally hear you use language where I think to myself, somebody with a 64 IQ does not use vocabulary like that. That is not a 64 IQ vocabulary. Help me with that.
Well, when I was in this program, okay.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off that my caseworker had to call my sister because I was threatening this caseworker. But I wanted my results right away.
From your IQ?
Yeah. So when I applied for Social Security, the first time you apply, they deny you like the first time.
And how old were you then?
Let's see. I'm 46 now. I was about maybe 43, maybe the first time I applied.
Just 3 years ago?
So.
3 years ago?
Yeah.
So
maybe
wait a minute.
43.
But
maybe 43, 44.
Dr. Drew is so interesting because I just looked it up. In order to qualify for Social Security based on intellectual impairment, you need a 70 or less.
Yeah. So that's how you got the Social Security was based on the IQ?
Well, they based it on my mental disability, my mental health.
Which is what? Did that have a name?
Well, I always see a therapist and a psychiatrist.
And what are they treating you for?
Anxiety, depression, and because I have severe anxiety.
Okay. No, well, hold on. Those are not disabling disorders. What's the disabling disorder?
Because with my anxiety, I can't be around the public. I can't be on public transportation. I can't be on buses or trains because I get severe anxiety.
But Eric, I mean, I have severe anxiety. Howard has severe anxiety. That it's not a disorder that they typically will give somebody Social Security for. So I'm wondering what else they were looking at. Now, I'm sure that helped make your case, but usually there needs to be something else.
And I have mental severe depression too, because like I've been hospitalized with depression.
Ah, tell me about that. Did you try to hurt yourself?
Yeah, a couple of times.
What have you done?
Like I tried to slice myself a few times. Yeah.
Do you have?
And by the way, Drew,
Yeah.
you can't. I just looked it up again. You can't. If you're diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, that does qualify you for additional Social Security medical benefits.
Additional, but not. It's not the one that will give you the usual disabled. It won't qualify you as disabled. So I'm looking for the disabling condition now. Needing
The 64.
that
right?
can do it. That will do it, and recurrent psychiatric hospitalization. But Eric, I'm going to be honest. Recurrent to the point that you need like chronic hospitalization.
Because they also based it on my IQ level too.
Yeah.
On the report that it gave my lawyer too.
I get it. But I'm surprised that all started like 3 years ago. What were you doing all up until then?
Well, I had a job in Yankee Stadium.
What were you doing?
I worked as a greeter at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Were you? That sounds for now, Ami. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I went to the Hard Rock Cafe and they had Eric, high pitch Eric at the front, I'd go to that Hard Rock. You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised they didn't like really give him I
think yes, but the better question is, work at the Hard Rock Cafe it's hard to imagine doing that if you have severe crippling anxiety, particularly as a greeter.
Yeah, but that happened before my disability. And then towards 2000, I started there in 2010, and I had to stop working in 2012 because that's when my herniated disc happened.
What other jobs have you had?
I worked for a law firm.
Doing what?
Doing legal stuff.
Like a lawyer?
That doesn't help me.
No.
I
was a legal assistant.
Legal assistant, like sort of doing clerical stuff. What else? I'm
That
so curious.
That seems like a pretty significant. That's a real job.
I know. Eric, that's my point. That's not a 64 IQ, but keep going. What else?
I worked at the airport, but I got fired from that because I made a bomb threat to a radio station.
Dude, Eric, what the hell? What was that all about?
Okay, this is back long ago.
Yeah.
When Howard
You were a different person back then, right?
But go ahead.
When Howard was on terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
Opie and Anthony made fun of Howard.
Got it.
And I made a bomb threat to Opie.
Now you have a long history of getting your ass in trouble for threatening people, particularly with phones and internet and stuff like that. I mean, exactly how you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why can't you contain some of that?
Well, I mean, I can contain it. I mean, I haven't done it lately.
Like 6 months ago was the last time.
You just did it a couple weeks ago on your own podcast. What are you talking about? You just did it.
Well, I haven't done the podcast in weeks.
Yeah, it was okay. It was a couple of weeks ago, and if I'm not mistaken, you were given tickets. This is by Vinny. You were given tickets to go to the New Kids on the Block.
My lawyer. But
that guy. He's a guy who does. No, wait a second. High pitch. This is a guy who's done you tremendous amount of favors. And what happened was, Dr. Drew, in case you're not familiar. High Pitch got tickets to the New Kids on the Block concert in Atlanta. Correct, High Pitch? And you demanded. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, but wait, my lawyer thinks it's funny when I threaten him. He thinks it's funny.
So that's just theater. That's theater.
Well, here's you tell me, Dr. Drew. Here's exactly what he said. I'm going to stab you, you son of a bitch. I will stab your wife and your fucking kids. Fuck you, fuck your wife, fuck your kids. I'm looking for the humor in that.
Because when I called him, he was laughing and he thought it was funny.
Okay.
So you think it was like a big joke? Like it was a joke?
Well, I would worry. I worry on Eric's behalf that somebody's going to think it's not funny because you have a history of people coming after you for stuff like that, right? Doesn't that worry you?
Well, because people know I won't act on it.
Well,
Okay.
Okay.
High Pitch, the other question I had for you was, I noticed that you have this thing that you do where you will extort people on Twitter. So what you'll do is you'll block them, and then you'll force them to pay you to unblock them. What's the deal with that?
Because people ask Gonzo, can you have a High Pitch unblock me? And people say, Gonzo, if he unblocks me, I'll give him money.
Right, but it seems like based on the tweets I was reading, you're telling them, pay me this amount of money and I will unblock you. And then there's even a negotiation that goes on. It's $10 per unblock. And then somebody said, I saw somebody pay you $5 for unblock. So you're blocking people and then getting them to pay you to unblock you. I mean, it seems like actually a pretty smart way of making some money, right?
Yeah, because Gonzo is my spokesperson.
So he handles that part of your business, the Twitter extortion business.
Where is Gonzo out in Los Angeles? Is he out here? Where is he?
Yeah, he's in Sacramento.
Sacramento. How did you guys get to know each other?
Because, he used to call up Howard and screw around with Erik the actor.
Ah, and you would get on Erik the actor also? You'd join with him?
Yeah, and, Gonzo came to New York after Joey Booth passed away. We went to Joey's grave site, because we wanted to visit his grave site.
I'm just I want to be complimentary to you, Erik, about your intellect, but I also don't want to accuse you of fraud. But I swear to God, you're smarter than you let on. That's my firmest belief.
High Pitch is not. High Pitch is he's a savvy guy.
He's
right,
a very, very shrewd dude, and the 62 thing or 64, whatever, has never sat right with me. And you use very sophisticated language, and now I understand why. You worked in a law firm. What else do you do besides the law firm?
I worked in a car dealership.
Did you sell?
No, I worked in the parts department.
Why do you keep losing jobs? What happens?
Because I quit the car dealership to do a reality show with some whack packers.
When was that?
That was in March of 2004.
That sounds like a hit. What happened?
Well, me and a couple of whack packers went to Vegas for about a month.
A month?
And we made like $2,500. Like $2,500 to do this reality show.
But what happened to it? We've never seen it. Where'd it go?
Well, the guys that did this reality show never put it out, but they paid us to do it.
Who was it? Was like in a house, like a surreal world kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, who was there?
It was me, Kicking Black, and Miss Howard Stern.
So the three of you.
That sounds like a genius idea, Drew. I'm thinking you and I should restart that business.
Well, it would need. I think and they had you going out and like doing jobs and things, doing activities. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like go-kart racing, all that, like miniature golf and all that stuff.
Well, somebody had the right idea. That's kind of interesting. Do you still stay in touch with King?
Yeah, once in a while.
He's another guy that seems pretty smart to me.
Yeah, but everybody on the Stern Show thinks he's annoying.
They what?
Everybody on the show thinks he's annoying.
He's annoying. Well, he's he's a little arrogant and stuff. But I like King.
I want him on the show. You kidding me?
A
million questions to ask the King.
Yeah. And then Miss Howard Stern, she's had some issues, right?
Yeah, she had some issues, but no, I haven't heard about her in age. I haven't heard about her in age.
I haven't either. I assume that's a good thing because usually, people are struggling. You kind of hear about it, so that's good.
Right.
So we wish her only the best. Did you ever get involved with anybody else like Bigfoot or Tan Mom or any of the other folks?
No, I haven't heard from them in a long time. I know Bigfoot recently. They did a special on him on Howard like about a month ago.
Yeah.
and it was so disturbing.
You didn't like that with all the people living in his house and all?
Oh my God, it was so disturbing.
I got a question for you. Now, I'm assuming you're going to agree with me on this, but I want to ask you. Will, Will on the show?
Yes,
Will is definitely the sexiest staffer. Am I correct about that?
I would have to agree with you on that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I know that you found him very attractive. I remember you said you wanted to suck chocolate off his toes.
Not the kid that's going to whore himself out for a threesome. What was that guy's? What's the kid? I have not met him.
No. This is Will. Will's
Okay.
Will's one of the senior producers
Yes.
on
Will
the show.
Yes.
So is Will? Will, I'm assuming, is one of the guys. Because I know you're not gay, that you're straight, but you have certain guys that you love, right? Obviously Wayne Brady and obviously Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Will is one of the guys you'd be willing to, let's say, you would allow Will to blow you. Is that correct?
No, I mean, Donnie Wahlberg is one of them, and John Stamos.
Stamos, that's right. Stamos.
Well, what about Drew Carey?
No, I just like his show.
No.
No. You have said numerous times you find him sexy.
Well,
I do, but I wouldn't have him blow me.
right.
Well, so what would you do to Will? If you could do anything, he could do anything to you. What would you do?
I don't find him that way like Donnie and John Stamos.
He's not on the same level as those two guys.
Right.
Eric, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know you, but I worry about you as a person that I feel like I know because I listen to you a lot on the radio and stuff. And you and I met that one day, and I guess you also stood over me at Howard's birthday party. You were next to Jeff the drunk when he spilled the beer on me, if I remember right. Right?
Oh, he spilled his beer on you?
Oh yeah, of course. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, we were right down below you, and you were by what's the clown's name? Yucko, right?
Yucko.
Yeah. Weren't you near him?
Yeah, Yucko and Tan Mom got thrown out.
What was that now?
Tan Mom was thrown out of the birthday
She
show.
almost fell off the balcony. It was scary.
Right.
But scary again. I worry about you. You smoke, use nicotine. You're overweight. You have sleep apnea. You've got back pain. You aren't the picture of health at a pretty young age. What's the plan here? What don't you worry about yourself and your ability to? And Eric, you were part of the death pool and everything. I just worry. As a physician, it's hard not to worry about that kind of thing. What's the plan?
Well, right now, I'm in the middle of seeing a nutritionist.
Yeah, but that's almost become a bit. That's as long as I can remember you've been seeing a nutritionist.
No, honestly, it's not a bit.
And how much weight have you lost?
And honestly, I really want to get the gastric sleeve.
Okay. Are you diabetic?
Yes, type 2 diabetes.
And is it under control?
It's under control, yes.
Do you have any other medical problems currently?
My blood pressure's really good.
And again, that will come down. That would at least get better if you lose the weight, right?
Right.
Hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol.
Yes, my cholesterol was great when they checked all my blood work.
And you had a heart attack, is that correct?
No, I never had a heart attack.
Didn't have a heart attack. Why did I think something like that had happened at one point?
Because they thought I did, but it never happened.
Did they do it?
I'm sorry. Did you say your cholesterol was the doctor said it was okay?
On meds, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to you.
Because when they took all my blood work like a few months ago, everything came back great.
And one of the misconceptions about obesity is that it's associated with high cholesterol. It often is not. So that
when the blood work came back on my diabetes,
yep,
it came back like a 6. It's supposed to be a 5.
That's your A1. That's your A1C. Yeah, 6.0.
Yeah, but A1. It's not. It has to be at a 5 something. But still, it's not that bad.
You're right. 5.9 is good. 5.9 is good. So anything in the low 6 for you is be good. So So you're working on it. You're trying. What about returning to the workforce? Is it just going to be the Stern Show forever, which is not going to last forever? What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I'm on disability, and because of my mental health, and
Eric, give me a little more about the mental health stuff, if you don't mind. It's as you're comfortable, but you still haven't told me yet what's disabling about the mental health. You have two hospitalizations for suicide attempts. Does not, I would love to get people into situations where social services are supporting them after 2 depression hospitalizations. That never happens. You have to be sort of unable to manage your psychiatric problems. And what is it?
Because with my mental health, I can't be around people at a workplace.
I don't know. Maybe New York's different, but that's a hard one to get to stick. Usually, it's that you would need some kind of chronic structure, or you can't tolerate being in a workplace because of some. Do you ever hear voices or see things or anything like that?
No, because I just can't be around people at a workplace because of my anxiety and the stress. My stress level.
Come on, Drew. It's called gaming the system, Drew. Come on,
well,
Dr.
but
Drew.
even
Even
if you're gaming it, you need to have. It's hard to game psychiatric stuff. It actually is, because you have to sort of have objectifiable symptomatologies. And so I don't know. It's just hard to understand. Let me go back into your family of origin. You said no trauma. That's hard. That's hard for me to accept. Like, it wasn't a little chaotic growing up or something.
Well, I mean, growing up when my parents got separated and divorced, it was hard. It was hard for me and my sister.
Was it? But divorce is hard. But if you're saying it was extra hard, was there domestic violence in the house?
No, never.
Did they ever hit you?
No, never.
Did you ever hit them?
No.
We're just trying to figure out what led to where you are now and how it got so disabling.
I mean, that's how I am right now. Right now my mind is not all that there.
Did you ever get strung out on pills or anything, or addicted to anything?
Like 2 years ago, I almost downed a bottle of pills. Yeah.
But that was in a suicide attempt, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was a suicide attempt.
How many attempts have you had in your life?
3.
3. But did you ever get into trouble with pills, like taking too much, unable to stop?
Yes, I have.
And when was that?
That started in 2011.
Okay. Again, that was back with the back pain, right?
Yeah, Percocet. I take Adderall. Like, I'm addicted to Adderall. I'm addicted to, let's see, I'm also addicted to Percocet.
Presently,
I'm addicted to my...
Presently, or you were for a while?
What happened?
You are presently addicted to these things, or you were for a while?
I'm addicted to them right now.
Okay. And anyone ask more questions? Because I'm wondering next about relationships.
I got a million questions.
Go ahead.
Eric, take us back for a moment to the. You told me your mom passed away, and you and your sister stopped talking after that. What precipitated that? Can you explain to the audience kind of what that fight was about between you and your sister?
Well, no, because she was just being a mean bitch, and that's how her attitude was. I mean, we never got along.
Your whole life?
Well, we got along when we were kids, yeah. But as we grew older, we never got along.
Have you ever had any long-term romantic relationships, or any romantic relationships really of note?
Well, I was in a long-term relationship for a few months with this girl, yeah, but it never worked out.
Was this the one you guys heard about on the show, or was it something long ago?
Oh, this was back in 2008.
Did you guys
Angel.
did you guys have sex?
Oh yeah, and she said it was the best sex ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. The fight with your sister, was that about inheritance? Was it about money?
Oh yeah, I had to tell my sister. My mother was not in the right frame of mind, to sign any papers. So my lawyer got this person a handwritten, what do you call them? A handwritten person to see who signed it. My sister signed the will instead of my mother.
So, a handwriting analyst, a handwriting specialist, determined that it wasn't even your mom's will, right?
Right. So my sister signed the will. And when my lawyer saw that, my lawyer said, we're taking your sister to court.
Jeez.
So what ended up happening with the inheritance?
Well, I got the inheritance, and my father paid the rent with that, and he got me clothes with that, too.
Erik, I love you. I'm a huge fan of Erik. Whenever I hear Erik's coming on the line, I'm always listening intently. I think you truly add an amazing dimension to the show. But I can't quite figure you out because you give off this innocence and this naivete. But underneath that veneer, there seems to be a certain ruthlessness about you. I mean, we talked about your lawyer, Vinny. I know you said it was a joke.
To be fair, ruthless is too harsh a term, but I know what you're talking about. There seems to be a ragefulness. How about a ragefulness?
A ragefulness, but it's not the rage so much that I'm talking about. It's that I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, Erik. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel you do take advantage of people. A perfect example is I remember there was a police officer who was so sweet, and he offered you tickets to the Yankee games, and you got upset at him because the seats weren't good enough. It's that kind of attitude I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying, High Pitch?
Oh, no. Listen, if I was offered a Yankee game, like tickets, I would greatly appreciate that. I wouldn't be mad about the seats.
No, you don't remember what I'm talking about? This police officer took you to the Yankee game? You don't recall that at all?
No,
not
at all.
Okay. And take us back to that time with Will. Do you remember when they played that prank on you with the $20?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Walk us through that.
Tell me about that. I don't know about that either.
So what happened was, Will has a good relationship with High Pitch Erik, right? High Pitch, you guys are friends. Fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Will came he was in the green room with High Pitch, and Will left $20 on the couch.
Oh yeah.
Walked out.
Yes, I did hear about this. Yeah.
And then High Pitch pocketed the $20.
Yeah.
But then, which by the way, okay. So one can argue it's found money if you didn't know who it was, which I understand. High Pitch, I wouldn't do that, but I understand that. But then Will came back and said, "Hey, I lost $20. Did you see it?" And then you said, "No, I didn't see it." Remember that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, tell me what was going through. I mean, do you thinking back on it now, do you feel guilty about that?
I did feel guilty, but I didn't know I was being played.
But that's not an excuse for what you did. I know you didn't know you were being played, but that's kind of the point, right? It kind of opens up. If you don't know you're being played, the reality comes out.
I was set up. I didn't know I was being set up.
Right, but you're not listening to me, High Pitch. It's that I know you didn't know you're being set up, but that's exactly why the bit worked, and that's why it kind of showed true colors, if you know what I'm saying, because you didn't know it was a joke. You thought it was real, correct?
Yes.
So my question is, do you feel guilty that you essentially took $20 from Will?
Let's say it wasn't.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You do. So you go looking back at it. I'm trying to give you a chance for a mea culpa. So looking back at it now, you would say that was the wrong thing to do, and you feel bad about what you did.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. I got more, Dr. Drew. If you're
yeah, I'm up.
Okay. So another thing. So you listen to the show every day. Like, do you listen to every minute of the show, or because you kind of said that you turn it on, you kind of listen. If it's not interesting, you'll fall back asleep?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't listen to the show you don't listen to every minute of the show, correct?
No, because I doze off.
Because you doze off in the middle of the show. So you'll catch an hour or 2 hours of the show every
Yes.
morning? So do you feel that if the show goes away, I think there's a lot of whack packers who I think their entire life revolves around the show.
Yeah,
Would you say
Ami's interested in asking everybody what they're going to do when the show goes away. And
Yeah,
Jeff,
like, do you
he
feel
asked
like
Jeff
if
the
they-
drunk, and Jeff did not like that question.
No, that's when we lost him. How do you feel like if the show goes off the air, do you think that you're going to have no problem continuing with your life? Will a big part of your life go away? I know for me, and I don't want to speak for Dr. Drew, but for me, when Howard leaves, and I got a lot going on in my life. I got a lot going on, and it will still leave a big hole in me. Do you kind of feel like the show goes away, it's going to leave this huge gaping hole in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Because if the show goes off the air, what are we going to do next? There's no one that's going to fill his spot. Who's going to be the next Howard Stern?
Oh,
No one.
Yeah.
But on a more personal level, because so much of what you're like, because of you've got that you people donate money to you, right? And you've got that Twitter extortion racket going on. Like, do you feel that if Howard goes away, that's going to be a real problem for you personally? Because all this stuff will go away. No, I mean, let's be honest. Nobody's going to be that interested in High Pitch Eric when Howard Stern goes away, right? So do you feel like that's going to be a real problem?
Or does he imagine he'll figure out a way? I'm curious. What do you think?
No, because if Howard goes away, people can still hire me for appearances.
Right.
But do you think people will want to I can't imagine that
I can imagine that some of the whack packers will have that, but even that won't last forever. Do you think, Eric, or is your fantasy that it'll just keep going indefinitely?
Oh, listen, my appearance will still be up. I'll still be getting appearances, and people will still know me as High Pitch Eric.
Let me ask you a question about your relationship with Howard. Like, do you feel you have a relationship with Howard?
Yeah, because I told Howard he's like a dad to me.
And you think that Howard feels that way about you? He feels like you're a son to him in a way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And do you feel that, you think and I believe that you do, but do you think you contribute a lot to the show?
Oh, yes, because that's what he said when New Kids on the Block played in the studio. Something High Pitch, because since you've contributed a lot to the show in the years, I'm going to surprise you. New Kids on the Block are playing a live acoustic today. And I'm going to let you sit in and watch.
Until he threw you out.
So he had me sit in and watch them.
That's pretty cool.
Right. I mean, considering how he feels about Donnie Wahlberg, it's unbelievable. Hey, Dr. Drew, what do you think about how Howard feels about Eric? Do you think there's some truth that Howard looks at Eric as a son?
I don't know about a son. I can imagine he'd feel paternalistic and
really?
I think he'd feel concerned. He expresses concern for Eric repeatedly. I was thinking about this gastric sleeve thing. I mean, some sort of gastric bypass. Eric is, in a way, I'm not a fan of bariatric surgeries, but boy, if there ever were a candidate, Eric would be the guy. What?
The doctor I spoke to said I'm a candidate for the bariatric surgery.
I'm certain that you are. See, a guy with a 61 IQ doesn't repeat words like bariatric. I'm just
just put it out there.
I'm just saying.
Do you think that if he in fact loses High Pitch, you're around 360 right now, 375?
Your weight?
I'm not sure how much I weigh. I haven't weighed myself.
You think that, Dr. Drew, that if he's able to get down to, let's say, the 2-something range, that might affect in a positive way his vocal cords?
No, I think the vocal cord thing is a separate thing. Though, when you are extremely overweight like that, you do tend to produce a lot of estrogen, and that's certainly not helping his voice.
Yeah, and by the way, the estrogen might explain his infatuation with all those male talk show hosts and Donnie Wahlberg.
It's a little, but sexual orientation and circulating estrogens aren't correlated.
Oh, fine.
Way to go, Ami.
Well, you have to ruin it with science.
But You had mentioned a couple times you were having trouble functioning sexually, I think, too. Didn't you talk about that on the air one time?
Yes, I did. Because when I did a porno, it was hard for me because there were too many cameras in that room.
To be fair, Dr. Drew, if I was on camera in a porno, I'm not sure I can get up either.
When did you do a porno? I didn't know about that.
That was ages ago, like back into 99 or 2000. Like there were 20 cameras in that room.
All right, Erik, I still don't feel like I have a sense of what your life was like before things sort of fell apart. I don't get it. I don't have a feel for it. Why would that be? Why does that seem so vague to me?
I don't know.
Like I don't have a sense of Erik. Let me approach it this way. When did the voice change? How old were you when the voice thing kind of kicked in?
I always had this voice growing up as a kid.
Yeah, I understand. But then you hit puberty and you developed the capacity for lower ranges, and then you continue to have a preference for the high pitch. When did that get noticeable?
Well, probably when I was in public school, when I was about maybe 10, 11 years old.
Okay. Let's say it's 13 or 14, just for the sake of discussion. Didn't the other kids give you a rash of shit about it?
Oh, absolutely not.
Not. So you were never
No.
teased or bullied or none of the other, sort of who knows what types in your class troubled you about it.
That's hard to imagine unless you're with like the absolute best behaved children of all time.
No, because when they saw me, I was bigger than they were, and that's why they didn't bully me.
Okay, all right, that explains a little something.
Did you get a lot of fights when you were younger?
No, I never got into any fights whatsoever.
I can't believe that. It's not all making sense to me, Erik. I can't quite get my head around it. And even though you were bigger and couldn't be bullied, I can't imagine other kids, because I know how kids are. When somebody's different, they at least comment, or comment in sort of not the kindest ways many times. That didn't happen?
No, but but I'll tell you something. When I was in high school and junior high school, I failed a lot of subjects. I failed math, because that was my worst subject. I failed. What else did I fail? But the math was my worst subject. I failed both of those subjects.
But it seems like you were failing stuff because there was a lot of misery going on at home.
Yes.
And so it wasn't just because you were dumb. It was because you were, depressed, really.
Yeah.
Would you say your childhood was unhappy or happy?
As a child, I was very unhappy.
Why?
And was that because? Yeah. Sorry. Why?
Because I wasn't happy in school after my parents got divorced.
Yeah. Before that, though.
No, before that, I did really good in public school.
And were you happy then?
But I was very happy then. Yes.
Yeah. And what happened that your parents divorced?
Because my dad wanted to leave my mom for another man.
For another man?
Whoa!
Yes.
So your dad was gay and your mom didn't know it?
Right. That's why they had fights.
Okay. And what were the fights like?
They had fights in the bedroom every now and then. Because me and my sister heard them arguing all the time with the door closed.
Okay. Did it ever get scary, intense?
No.
No, just a lot of fighting. And what was being said during those fights?
Honestly, I really don't know.
Well, what kind? Did you live in a house or an apartment?
In an apartment house.
Okay, I can't imagine you couldn't hear what they were fighting about if you're in the same apartment.
Because we were in another room while they were fighting in their room.
And that all started when you were how old?
Wow, that's maybe 13 years old.
Okay.
Between 11 and 13.
So really around adolescence, early adolescence, or puberty, things really fell apart for you.
Yes.
Do you think that has anything to do with clinging to the high voice? That sort of there's in that list I read to you, at the beginning of the program, that the psychogenic, childhood idealization, that kind of stuff, excessive kind of involvement with mom is what they said in that list. Any of that stuff sound like maybe part of the motivation to hang on to the voice?
I don't know. Like I really don't know.
Dr. Drew, can you put a fine point on this for me and the audience? It seems to me you're intimating this is truly psychological. You keep saying the words like holding on to.
Well, psychogenic it's considered a psychogenic issue. Not to say that surgery isn't sometimes the solution because it's a very hard thing to treat. But it's like anything else. However you get there, there you are. But
let's speak plainly. Are you telling me that this is something he could get rid of tomorrow if he truly wanted to?
I don't know that it's that kind of thing. You understand? It's again, I can read you some of get some of this literature out.
Let's not read literature.
Well,
let's not break out the literature.
Emotional stress, delayed psychogenic. Yeah.
Those are all psychological symptoms.
But the treatments are all sort of speech therapy. They're not psychological treatments. In other words, But
speech therapy can be connected to a psychological issue, no?
No, they're really how to retrain the voice. It's like whatever your anxiety is. Sometimes the treatment for the anxiety is, deep breathing and reducing meditation and reducing the anxiety. Not so much necessarily getting at the cause of the anxiety. I mean, all I'm telling you is I've never treated this thing, but everything I read about it suggests that there isn't really a good psychotherapeutic way to treat it.
Hi, Pitch. Let me ask you a question. If somebody was able to give you a magic pill tomorrow and said, take this pill and you will speak in a normal voice, would you take that pill? Or are you so wrapped up in your identity as high pitch that you wouldn't do it?
No, I wouldn't take the pill because you can't trust any pill.
Well, forget a magic spell.
Maybe
forget
that
the
64
pill.
is in fact accurate. That's not what I'm asking.
A magic spell.
If you could wave a magic wand, or if you could snap your fingers, and your voice would be normal tomorrow, would you do it?
No.
Right.
Why?
Because then it wouldn't be on Howard anymore.
Right.
Wow.
Right. There's too much.
Wow.
There's too much secondary gain. And whatever secondary gain people get from this, not non-Erik high-pitched people, they are sufficiently reinforced that it's hard to break the process. Evidently, again, I'm no expert in this. I've never dealt with it. I've never seen it, and
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Erik, going back to the. By the way, Erik, do you prefer some people call you high pitch or call you Erik, or call you high pitch Erik?
Yeah, call me whatever you want.
What do you prefer? What do you like to be called? I'm going to call you what you want to be called.
It's up to you.
Okay. So why don't we stick? Since we're with around since your identity on Howard Stern is important to you, let's stick with high pitch. High pitch.
Okay.
Do you feel that obviously we've determined that you are an important part of the Howard Stern show? Do you think that Howard owes you for what you contribute to the show?
Does he owe me?
Do you feel he owes you?
No, he doesn't owe me because something. It's fun to do the show. I've been on here for years, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as you want.
Let me talk a little bit more about the here and now. Are you happy now?
Well, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm still on the Stern show.
Yeah.
And I get really, really sad that Joey Boots is not here anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that found him in his room.
I know, it sounds awful. Do you have other friends, or do you have other sort of support network out there?
Yes, I do. A lot of supporters and.
No, I don't mean fans. I don't mean Howard Stern fans. I mean, do you have real friends in the world right now?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody?
And after Joey passed away, I think about a week later, I had a service inside my building for him.
And who now is your best friend? Who fills those big Joey boots?
I have friends that knew him. They came over to the service in my building.
Yeah.
And just normal, regular people.
Right.
That's not what Dr. Drew is asking. He's asking who in your life on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis, who are your friends? Who are the people you spend time with that you can share things with, that you share a meal with? Who are your real friends?
Get support from, yeah.
Wow, it's like too many to name.
Really?
It's what? What do you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Too many to name.
Okay. All right.
I would like to believe that. I would. I find it hard to, but I would like to believe that.
Well, my sense talking to Erik, I don't get the anxiety. He seems not anxious right now. And he seems pretty happy, pretty satisfied. And it sounds like, Erik, you're leading, in a way, a better life than you maybe expected, or more a funner life than you expected. Would that be accurate?
Well, I mean, like my anxiety pills. Like, I'm on a lot of anxiety pills.
What are you taking?
Like, I take Xanax,
Mm-hmm.
and I take Klonopin.
When you were taking the Percocet with that, wasn't there concern that you would stop breathing?
No, I take my Percocet at night.
I understand, but it's a very, very treacherous combination, taking Klonopin, Xanax, and Percocet.
Well, I take my Xanax or Klonopin during the day.
I understand. It's still a rough combination. The Klonopin lasts, many hours. It's a long-acting medicine.
When you say rough, are you saying, Dr. Drew, that could be a dangerous combination?
Well, especially for somebody with sleep apnea, yeah, it makes people stop breathing. I mean, when you hear about these accidental overdoses, that's the combination. It's, benzodiazepine, which is Xanax, Klonopin, and opiate. And so I just worry when he's taking that.
That concerns me, high pitch. That concerns me a great deal if you're doing something that could be dangerous to you.
Oh, okay. And plus I take Ambien too.
Yeesh. It's just a rough combination. It's just a concerning combination. I mean, be very careful with the Percocet. It's hard to overdose. It's hard. The Ambien, the Klonopin, Xanax, they're not what you call good for you, but they're hard to overdose on. It's easy to overdose when you add the Percocet in, if you even a modest amount. So just please be careful.
But the first time I was hospitalized for suicide, I was in there for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Drew, let me ask you a question. If you have a history of trying to overdose on pills, do doctors not have a responsibility to? I mean, how do they dose you?
You'd be amazed. Listen, all these people you hear about, people dying accidentally, this is what they're dying on. And the doctors rarely really understand how dangerous the combo is.
Even if you have a history of abusing it?
Listen, every patient that I have that has died because one of my peers gave them this combination of medicine. And they all,
not a prescription. They got it through friends.
Prescriptions. My peers, meaning other doctors, gave them the prescription, and my patients were quite forthcoming about their history. And the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. Just take some Klonopin and some Percocet. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Your back hurts. I understand. You have a headache. I understand."
Hi, Pitch. You mentioned something I thought was fascinating. I wanted to I want to backtrack for a moment and touch upon it. So you talked about how you don't want to wake up too late because you don't want to waste a day, which I think is a noble thing, right? I think not wanting to waste a day is a sign of real maturity. But I guess my question is, though, but then when you follow that up with, I don't want to waste a day, so I get up early and then I go play video games and watch TV all day. Do you feel that playing – and I'm not judging, I'm just asking a question. Do you feel that playing video games all day, watching game shows all day, that to you is not a wasted day? To you, that's a solid day?
Well, the video games are early in the morning. And then right at 12 noon, I play one baseball game, and then I start my day.
And what does that mean, start your day?
Yeah, what do you do
when you start your day?
Because right after the baseball game, I shower, have my lunch, and then I go out and do the stuff I need to do.
Which is what? Walk us through that.
Doctor's appointments, and and I go out and see friends.
So you do leave the house every day?
Yeah.
And you go see friends every day?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow, I mean,
that's good.
And give us some examples of who you go see, and what do you guys do?
go out. We go out for coffee, or maybe a cigar place, smoke a cigar.
Shit.
And
I mean, that's great.
With the cigar, have a glass of wine.
Ooh. Oh, Eric, I worry more you talk, the worry about your substance use. But listen, Ami, we got to kind of wrap things up here. Any last questions you want to ask Eric? And Eric, thank you for spending all this time with us. We do appreciate it. And do you have questions?
Not a problem.
Or do you have questions for us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Joe,
Yeah.
I followed you on Twitter. If you want to follow me back.
Done and done, my friend. Let me work on that.
Yeah, one last, actually, two last questions. One is, I was recently watching you on your YouTube. You've got that little show you've got. I found what I found disturbing was the state of your apartment, the messiness, and it was kind of, I mean, frankly, it seemed very unclean. Why don't you? I mean, do you have people who clean up your home as part of your social services? Do you do it yourself? Like, why is your house in that kind of situation?
Yeah, well, I have my health aide do it tomorrow.
Okay, so your health aide, is part of her job to clean up your apartment?
Yes.
Is that part of her mandate as a health aide? Does that seem? Yeah. So walk us through what you get from the government. So you get Social Security, right? So you get a check for that, right?
And but for my health insurance, I get for my health insurance, I get the health aides.
Yeah, forget the health insurance for a second. I just want to understand how much like cash flow. So you don't have to give me I don't care about the numbers, but you get a check every week or every other week from Social Security.
No, I get it every month.
Every month. And is there any other social services that pay you a stipend every month other than Social Security? Who else gives you money from the government?
Food stamps.
Food covers all your food. And what about your housing?
No housing.
So you don't get any money for housing from the government? No Section 8 or anything like that?
No, but I'm looking into low income housing.
Okay. So you pay your rent every month?
Yeah.
I see. And can you use food stamps to buy like your take-in, your hamburger and that kind of thing?
No, you can't.
Okay. That's only for food you buy at the supermarket.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we got to wrap things up.
Okay, I can listen. You're right.
We could talk to Eric all day.
I can be on all day.
Yes, we get that. You and I, we appreciate high
and
pitch.
You're going to get a case of Lucky Charms for Mommy too, so that should work out.
How
for
does that sound, buddy?
No Lucky Charms.
Oh, damn.
But how about Honey Nut Cheerios?
Done and done. I will figure out a way to get you some Honey Nut Cheerios.
Eric, what is that's good. What is your Twitter handle, Eric?
Because that's more healthier.
I don't know about that, but fortunately, once you have the sleeve, you won't be eating much of it. But what is your Twitter handle?
It's HP Eric with a K at the end. 1971.
I'm now following you, Eric. I'm following you.
Yeah, and Joe, if you ever want me to do your TV show, let me know.
All right, buddy. I appreciate that.
You got it.
And we appreciate you being on the podcast, and no doubt we'll cross paths someday in the Sirius Tower there.
Love you, High Pitch.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you so
too.
much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. I know it's very exciting for you to talk to Eric. Was it everything you thought it would be?
That was very exciting. It absolutely lived up to expectations, which is a big thing because I had big expectations going into this thing. I just, so many things are kind of bouncing around my head. The first of all is what we ended with, that he really does seem, this is serious. There's some real danger here.
Where's that?
Right?
Oh, with his medical stuff?
With medical stuff,
yeah.
the wine, the cigars, the food.
Yeah, but as you know, I guess the reason I didn't launch into any great motivational speech is I've heard Howard try a million times, and it's very slippery. The idea that he's going to get somebody's giving him these medications, nothing I can do about that. It's not like he's illicitly getting them. Somebody's giving them to him.
Right.
So that's that person's responsibility. He's going to get a sleeve, and that will make him lose weight, and hopefully that will reduce some of these medical problems. But the bigger issue is I don't understand how he's happy being so dependent on the system. But I guess it's because he has a life. with the show.
That's the problem with the system, is that it first of all, you become dependent on it.
Yeah,
right? It's a very, very vicious cycle, and that's why they always say in politics, you can never take something away that you've given something to somebody for free.
That's right. Yeah,
that's a real truism of human nature.
Yep.
And I think it's so ingrained in his daily life.
Yep.
Listen, you and I, we could not have a fulfilled life if we are taking out handouts, right?
Yeah,
Clearly.
No.
But somebody who's been living his life so long through handouts, he could just see that as a normal course of his life. This is just part of his life. He's owed that.
Yeah,
and that he can compartmentalize that and have a very good and somewhat fulfilling life.
Right. So it's almost like you'd be foolish not to take these things he's entitled to. Right.
There's no question about it.
That's the way he sees it.
But I thought you really, it was fascinating. You kept going back to it, and you're 100% right. He clearly is not a below 70 IQ.
No,
There's no
way.
question about it.
That's something I actually think he's rather shrewd and intelligent, I suspect.
Well, shrewd is a good way of putting it.
But because I listened to his language, the way he expresses himself, and that's not a low IQ language that he's. And sometimes I've listened extra carefully because sometimes people can sort of have. Like he kept emphasizing how bad his math was, and that can happen, that you can be really terrible in certain areas and sort of still have some preserved speech or something. But I still think that the bad math was the depression in his adolescence, and he never really recovered from that. And how about the fact we found out that his dad was gay? That was fascinating. Interesting, right?
He left his wife for another man, and then we connect that with the whole narrative of when he comes on Howard's show about how he loves Donnie Wahlberg and the weather guy and all these people. I find it fascinating. But the fact that he refuses to acknowledge that he's gay, I think that comes from the fact that he was so hurt by his father coming out as gay and leaving his mom for another man. Don't you think that's connected?
It certainly could be, but Erik is pretty, and I'm going to use a word that sounds negative, but it's just how I feel. It's sort of slippery. It's hard to get a real sense of Erik always. So I really don't know where his psychology is.
So do you think he's aware? You think he's aware of his slipperiness? You think this is intentional? He's trying to keep us out of that inner shell?
No, I think that's just him. I think that's how he is, and he's got so much to lose by letting anybody really in that he's going to continue the way he is, which is he could lose his if really he were open. He would lose his identity as high-pitch Erik. He could lose his sort of all that stuff he gets from the state. I mean, there's a lot to be lost for him, legitimately, if he is super forthcoming about too much. So, good.
Were you not disturbed by that transcript I read you? I'm going to stab you, son of a bitch. Yeah. I will stab your wife, your fucking kids. Fuck you, fuck your wife, fuck your. I found that deeply disturbing.
These rageful outbursts could be more related to the substances because he's done a lot of stuff that can de-repress him. Who knows? But I agree with you. There's an underlying rage there, but that rage is again, I don't know where it is coming from because he's I don't have a clear vision of Erik, but he's still entertaining, even aside.
Oh God, endlessly entertaining.
Well, listen, everybody, that does it with this interview. You might follow us on Twitter and let us know who you'd like to hear us interview and what more stuff you'd like to hear us get into. We should get sort of a listener sort of list of questions together. So,
that'd be great. Yeah, guys, definitely send us a list of questions, and I think a great idea. Who else you want us to hear to interview?
Yeah. Okay,
because we'll definitely get on top of that.
All right, thanks so much. What last words from
you? See you guys.
All right.
This is the Howard Vortex with Dr. Drew and Army Horowitz.